Hi. I was being sarcastic. Acha, never mind. Let's
Turn off all the lights except all the lights except turn off all the lights except the one in the front.
See, I can't. It's immediately getting down. What? You throw that.
Why don't we this not on the real screen?
Can everyone please take their seats? We're about to start the grand finals. I request all people standing to please sit down so we can start. I request Menak to take his seat on the panel. Menak, we're waiting for you.
It is recording already. Wow. Sorry for bothering you.
Can everyone please take their seats?
1 minute, sorry. I'm going to sit there.
Guys at the back who are still standing, please take your seats. We cannot start till everyone is seated.
नहीं होती वो लाइट बंद होती है तो प्रोजेक्टर भी बंद हो जाता है प्लस इफ यू स्विच ऑफ दोस लाइट्स फेस विल बी डाउन the face of the speaker will be down.
All the speakers are dark.
सोमिल को देखा
It's starting in 1 minute. Everyone streaming into the exam hall, please take your seats as soon as possible. 1 minute till the final.
why can't you just
Actually, 2.
Chintu, did you just
If people wish to adjudicate this debate, even if they're not in the panel, we have pens in the front. So if anyone is interested, or if any teams don't have pens, or any of the adjudicators don't have pens. No pens will be given if you don't show us that you have sheets to write on. Please sit down, guys.
Are we waiting for Mr. MP? Sautik?
Guys, please sit down. We request people who wish to leave in the middle to please leave after a speech is done and not in the middle of a speech. And a request from the teams, please do not clap or tap in the middle of speeches. Do so after the speech if you wish.
Because effective.
Welcome to the grand finals of the NLS Debate. On-site government, we have for the second time IIT Bombay in the finals of the NLS Debate. IIT Bombay won. And inside opposition, for the fourth time as an institution in the finals, NLU Delhi won. On the motion that, so a panel for the grand finals today consists of Shaunak, Varun, Menak, Balaji, Ashwin, Anil, and our chair for the grand finals, Jesus. Without further ado, I invite Jesus to start the debate.
Congratulations to the two teams for reaching the grand finals. On the motion that this House prefers a world without Facebook, we call Prime Minister to open the debate.
Mic check. Yeah. Am I audible? Cool. Mr. Speaker, from side proposition, we argue a simple thing. We argue that in a time of decreasing interpersonal interaction, the world would be a better place without a corporation which perpetuates sadness via a forum of self-glorification and the same corporation that has a monopoly over all information. My arguments will be about the same. Going directly into my first argument, we believe that Facebook proliferates sadness. We believe that on Facebook, people project success, happiness, or self-glorification. People post photos of their new vacation. Parth would post that he got into MIT and get 750 likes. People would post that IIT Bombay won NLS for the second time. And we believe that by seeing this sadness, people only see like posts that are of glorification. Now, what does this really do? The first thing is, this proliferates depression. Because when you see someone on vacation, and you see someone or the other on vacation every day, because you have thousands of friends on Facebook, you believe that you feel sad. You feel that you're competing with others, and others are living a better life than you right now, and you're just at a room, because of which you feel depressed. You feel that you're missing out on life, because of which we believe that Facebook proliferates some kind of sadness or some kind of depression, and we see that as a major harm and a major cause of concern. We believe that we do not want such things. But also we believe that this cause of sadness can also be seen in the form of people posting about their new babies, and other people who haven't had kids so far just feel that they're missing out on life, they're not living the way they should. And we believe that such a forum that causes so much sadness and depression is particularly bad. But the second idea on self-glorification, we believe that people carefully vet their Facebook profiles. To the degree that people Photoshop their display photos or try to edit their statuses that they're putting up, we believe that people are posting an image or an identity that is not theirs. Now, how is that problematic? That is problematic because A, people seek validation of their identity, and B, people find the need to then conform to identities that are more acceptable on Facebook. They feel the need to conform and click good photos on themselves that would get more likes on Facebook than other photos that won't. And we believe that this also, or we believe that people who do not get validated or do not conform to such things also feel a sense of sadness, also feel a sense of depression, just because their photos don't get likes, just because their photos don't get validated on Facebook. We see that as a unique harm. But the third reason in which Facebook proliferates sadness is because Facebook is a facilitator of cyberbullying. Understand this, cyberbullying is a recurrent theme on Facebook. At the point of time at which someone puts something up, they can make or lose their reputation in the matter of seconds, if not minutes. We believe that kids especially are at risk of this. We believe that kids so far interact in regulated forums, like in schools, like in playgrounds, where they have a teacher or a parent to watch over them. Facebook is unique because Facebook is unregulated. Facebook is unique because everyone else is watching. And at the point of time at which someone posts something hurtful, like fat, someone posts something hurtful, like bitch, where everyone sees, we believe people feel the need to remove that. Although, the problem is that kids are worried about their own impression. Kids are not decided as to whether something is hurtful or not, and we believe that this is problematic. We know that people have committed suicide over being bullied on Facebook. We believe that such a forum should not exist if it facilitates so much cyberbullying, if kids die because of it. Although it facilitates communication, we believe that it systemizes depression and provides a platform for cyberbullying. These harms become especially worse because Facebook and social media in general is addictive. Every time someone just whips open their phone, the first thing they would check is that new notification or that new message or that new friend request that they got on Facebook. And we believe that because it is so addictive, these problems become even more magnified or even more worse because now they'll see people going on vacation even more often every day. The second thing that we'll come and argue is on Facebook harming interpersonal relationships before them.
Please juxtapose the costs of a couple of feeling sad posts vis-a-vis something like the Jasmine Revolution.
We believe that Facebook cannot incite revolution the same way Twitter does. We believe that this is particularly problematic because of Facebook's newsfeed algorithm. Understand this is important for you to debate. Facebook's newsfeed algorithm works in such a way such that they will only show you posts that you have a high probability of liking. For example, if you've liked 50 posts of Narendra Modi and you've liked the Narendra Modi Facebook page, the BJP Facebook page, you'll only see pro-BJP posts, anti-Congress posts, because of which we don't see how Facebook can change someone's opinion or cause a revolution, because most of the posts that you will see conform to the same image, the same impression of everything you have, and in no way can Facebook change your views. But on back to interpersonal relationships. We believe that close friends are required in life. Close friends who you meet regularly are required in life. And we believe you need to have offline interaction. And the problem with interaction on Facebook is it is no substitute for the same. Two ways in which offline interaction reduces. The first is your obligation to interact and meet is sufficed with chatting with someone for 5 minutes on Facebook. That becomes particularly problematic because although you have this illusion that you're close, you're actually distant because you don't know that person too well, because you haven't met that person that often in your life. You don't know what his mannerisms are or the way he's changed over the past few days. But the second thing is, when people meet, they are hooked onto their phones. Whenever people meet, we believe that the interaction is even worsened by the constant need to check and update social media, which is problematic. But on a third argument, on how no corporation should have so much control on information, right? We believe that Facebook has everyone's information. They have everyone's chats, everyone's photos, everyone's status updates. Even if it's private, it's there on Facebook servers. We see that as problematic because Facebook has the complete monopoly on a person's life. 3 impacts of the same. The first impact is that you cannot erase something because now it's on Facebook server. You cannot let the internet forget something because now it's on Facebook server. If you update a stupid status, you cannot erase it. But the second thing is that a single corporation should not have monopoly over every single person's information because that is problematic. Why so? Corporations are profit-based, and at the point of time at which anyone or anything that tries to jeopardize that profit, corporations will arm twist or do anything to get that information back. At the risk of sounding like very conspiracy theory-esque, we argue that if the United States president had a Facebook account or was amongst the you can't use Facebook, Facebook would have access not only to his photos but his chats with all the girls he had met or all the people she had met, and we believe that is problematic. We believe that monopolizing information to such a great degree, even if Facebook won't use it, Facebook sells it to corporates. They do it right now in terms of selling advertisements. We believe that this problem can get particularly magnified if Facebook decides to use it on its own. We believe this problem cannot be mitigated for 2 reasons. Because even if it is used once, even if Facebook uses this information to their advantage once, it leads to bad consequences. But the second thing is that the idea of a corporation using personal information for their own profit sounds improbable because people think it's very conspiracy theory-esque, because of which we are very, very proud to propose.
We thank Prime Minister for his speech to continue the debate and open for opposition. We call leader of opposition.
We make this
Mr. Speaker, this is not a debate about how Facebook should operate. This debate is about how Facebook and whether it should exist or not, right? So there are problems with the fact that Facebook has private information has recently not been a problem any longer because the European Court of Human Rights recently passed a landmark case called the right to be forgotten, which allows for every single cyber presence of yours in your rememberable history to be deleted and forgotten and can never be used by a private corporation again. And we in side opposition believe that Facebook is going to take cognizance of that, is going to incorporate that, right? So the idea is about that Facebook is a bad corporation. Don't worry, everybody is worried about that and everybody is handling it. But the question that we have to ask ourselves today is whether Facebook has done good for society and whether it should exist. And in this regard, we don't believe that this is a debate just about Facebook. We believe this is a debate about social media in general, right? And we are proud to have the opposition mantle to defend social media, right? Because we then invite them to draw the distinction between Tumblr, Reddit, Imgur, and every sort of like Twitter and so on and so forth, right? Unless they're going to show that this is particularly Machiavellian, we beg to see how, right? Moreover, he tells us, and this is particularly hilarious, right? He comes and tells us that Facebook peddles sadness, right? And that's why we shouldn't be in opposition of Facebook. I am fairly certain that Partha over here was pretty kicked when he got 750 likes when everybody was told that he got into MIT, right? The idea is for the person who has that final moment, right? The person who has achieved that success, it exemplifies that moment for them, right? It makes it more real because a lot more people know about it and he's able to share that happiness with a lot more people. So in that regard, we do believe that Facebook peddles happiness and sit down. Moreover, we believe that if he's going to be upset about Ronak updating a status saying that NLU Delhi won the NLS debate, he can 5 years later maybe hope that he will get to upload a status, and in that regard, he will always be in the plus of happiness, right? The idea is you share your happiness with more people, and that exemplifies the moment, and that exacerbates the moment, and that's why we believe that it peddles happiness, right? Moreover, he came and gave us some like massive argument about like the Facebook algorithm, and then prior to that, he juxtaposed it to this idea that you have to fit into identities and are pigeonholed into categories, right? Facebook is the first place that you can ideally be who you are and find people who are like that by virtue of that very Facebook algorithm, right? The idea that I might be into underground cultures such as gothic cultures, right? That I might be able to access punk rock and other things that are underground. I finally don't have to pretend because Facebook algorithms give me access to other people who believe in that. It gives me access to a social group that shares my opinion which I could never have access to before, right? Moreover, he tells us that there are interpersonal relationships that we are worried about, right? Because people are more into their phones, right? But what he fails to understand is he has this naive notion of what interpersonal relationships were 30 years ago. They didn't exist outside your immediate family, right? If you didn't see them, you didn't know them. Now I get to access their thoughts, their aspirations, their day-to-day desires, and I'm finally able to feel closer because that interpersonal relationship is a lot better than what I had earlier, right? But moreover, this is the trivial side of the case, right? Because we believe that Facebook is not just about this. We believe it's a lot more, and it has shown its potential in terms of creating, allowing, and harboring revolution and providing access for people to have dissent and use that in order to create groundswell movements, right? So what the construct is, we inside opposition bring to you, right? We talk to you about how Facebook and social media in general is the purest form of the freedom of expression, right? We moreover believe that it is the purest form of representation, has given us access to tools of consciousness that did not exist, and moreover we believe that in the context of repressive regimes, it has allowed us to have anonymity in order to further serve. Sit down. The purest form of the freedom of expression is this, right? Earlier, the access of freedom of expression allows people access to platform. Facebook allows people to associate with the thoughts of millions of others at the click of a button. Earlier, part that was only reserved for the high and mighty, right? Facebook, social media in general, has finally created individuals who are celebrities, right? People who just have a lot of followers by very virtue of their ideas, their content, who are finally able to have access to political spaces that were otherwise missing. And to that extent, we believe that the purest form of freedom of expression exists in Facebook, because at the end of the day, it is a massive soapbox that allows you to talk about the things you want and the changes you want to see, right? Moreover, Mr. Speaker, we believe that Facebook provides you access to the purest form of representation, right? Because we have always been brought up in this notion that democracy requires representation by people who are other than you, right? But finally, we have access to a means by which we can check that representation, right? And we've seen instances of that sector. We've seen instances of that, right? For instance, when the fourth estate, that is the media, started to trivialize news about Deepika Padukone and her cleavage, right? When the fourth media started to talk about the reason for India's loss, it was social media and Facebook that allowed us to check that, right? It was social media that allowed people to create a groundswell movement that finally checked the representation of the fourth estate and said, this is not the things we're interested in, give us real news, and that forced an intransient estate otherwise to finally apologize and be more in tune with what the people want, right? Moreover, we see this in terms of our immediate political representation, right? How many of us would have known 20 years ago that Sharad Yadav, during an insurance bill discussion, decided to compare women of South India with what one of the bill's provisions, right? We would have never known that, but Facebook finally gave us access to other people who thought that was messed up, and it gave us access to force him to be censured, right? It gave us access to put our bill out there and to censor those who claim to represent us by giving them a real-time feedback mechanism. Go.
Compare the marginal benefit of 800 likes to a man who just entered Ivy League college and the harm it causes to the 800 other people who did.
Okay, that is retarded. He will have a happiness sometime else in life, and that the idea is happiness and sadness is a part of life. The idea is, in this case, happiness and sadness is exemplified by Facebook. He's saying people should not be sad, but people will be sad regardless if he doesn't get into IIT college or whatever, right? The idea is that Facebook makes that one guy have 800 likes and enjoy that moment a lot more, and subsequently when that kid who didn't get into IIT Bombay does put up a status like that, he is able to access that similar exemplification of that happiness, and that is precisely what we stand for, right? Moreover, Mr. Speaker, we believe that Facebook and other social media has given us access to what was always a dream: real-time participative democracy, right? And that's something that cannot be decided on side of proposition, right? Because at the end of the day, by the virtue of this insemination of Facebook and social media, we've finally seen the political sphere recognizing and dealing with these rights, right? We've seen parties like the AAP and the BJP who have come up on the basis of social media presence, right? Who now conduct real-time polls on the initiatives they propose to take, right? They have hashtags, yes or no, should we create the government? And we believe that is exactly the sort of real-time participative democracy that is essential in order for us to proceed, right? And most importantly, we believe that in the context of oppressive rebellions, right? We believe the anonymity and flexibility that Facebook affords to people has been essential to harbor these revolutions. For all these reasons, very incredibly.
We thank Leader of Opposition for his speech. To continue the debate, we'd like to call upon Deputy Prime Minister. Change the motion to social media, change the motion to internet, and it's the same case. They've agreed that if I can show a distinction between Facebook and Twitter, they won't come up for the next speech. Let's see if you hold to that promise. We tell you that Facebook has built a narrative and a culture of chronicalizing your life and mimicking your social life on an internet platform. It has made you create a timeline, something other media networks haven't. It's become an extension of your identity instead of a platform where you express it. The culture on Twitter is a culture of expressing what you believe. Facebook becomes the extension and a concretization of your identity, which people can co-opt and choose to judge you on. The value or the harms we show of Facebook, if they are unique, and the benefits you ought to show in terms of how this is caused revolution, if that's so, since the wording of the motion is Facebook, unfortunately, we won't be giving it back to you one more time. We tell you that the Arab Spring happened because of Twitter, and we've also watched that speech by Shenguli, but unfortunately, you weren't able to make that distinction. So now what is this debate about? Is truly Facebook peddling sadness or not? The two responses they have is the first one. The first one says, happiness of a man who posts this post. A man who's just bought a Bentley and tells me, oh, look at my new jazzy car. A man who's just got into MIT really doesn't want those 800 likes to pump that happiness up anymore. He just does it because it's the culture. I post because I'm going on a vacation. A vacation is anyways enjoyable. It's the culture. But what does that do for other people? The amount of increase of happiness in this man's mind is not even comparable to those so many people who are caught in a job from 8 to 1 who don't get paid the same salary, can't afford that vacation, and will never be able to achieve those same things. The harm is larger, and hence taking down the second argument Sanjeevi gives, don't grill. Sanjeevi gives about, here's a challenge. People get spurred to change and move. One day they will be at Howard. Except some people can't afford Howard. Some people, no matter how much photo manipulation they do, will never look the same way. And some things are unsurmountable. Facebook has told us what's a valuable life. Sit down. Because we keep accessing it, a lot of people feel much more sad than you feel happy. A lot of people can't sum out those challenges because now they're 35. You will never get to MIT then. And hence those harms are unmitigatable. But there's a larger and deeper argument there. It was not just about who and how you see it. It's about how you don't have the ability how you don't have the ability to filter out a very, an assumption when you see the newsfeed. Even if I go on the same number of vacations as you, and assuming that that's possible, even though we assert it's not, we tell you even then there's a harm. Why? Because when you scroll through newsfeed and you have 1,000 friends, even if I go on a vacation once a year, I have at least 20 friends every day who are on a vacation. I don't have the ability to make the assumption that this guy has gone on a vacation a year later and I can't filter this information out. So I have a constant influx of people buying new cars, people getting new jobs, people earning more money, people buying a new car, people going on new vacations, people looking good because of their photos. They took 100 photos and posted only 2. But when I look in a mirror, I still look the same way. I know that I go on a vacation a year, but that filtering can't happen. The amount of depression it's causing is huge. But on a second level, we argue, it's led to a quantification. Put your mic down. We tell you this. Every human lies to himself and loves to lie. I tell myself that my height is fine. I tell myself that I look good enough. And that's a lie I love to live with. However, Facebook has made a culture of instant and numeric validation. Which means at the point at which I see 1,000 likes on one person's face and I see just 10 on mine, how do I lie to myself? How do I tell myself that no, there is something beautiful about me? So 1, it has chose the parameters on which a human succeeds. 2, it has taken away my ability to lie to myself and be happy about it. It has created immense unhappiness. Please tackle that. I have spent 4.5 minutes on it. Please, keep sitting. We tell you that Facebook is an aggressive corporation. It's made a lot of money. It has a lot of influence. We tell you that the only response you had was they have a right to be forgotten on the cyberspace. Exactly. You still haven't been able to force Facebook to delete it from its permanent records, and that's a harm. But more importantly, here's the thing. Even if, on a lot of times, right, things I do today, 30 years later, will never crop up on cyberspace. But at the point at which Facebook wants to access that information, it can go back in time and do it. This argument is sci-fi because it comes from a fiction episode I saw of Sherlock. You remember that episode where this man wears a glass? He meets a politician and all the dirt flashes on his glasses. Every single congressman will have dirt on his personal space. I hold so much leverage because I know the girlfriend you dated for 10 years and then got married, you have kept secrets from her. And we tell you the huge amount of leverage you might have over the entire world. While it sounds like sci-fi, but our argument is this. At a point at which a corporation is being a bully, is not listening to us and not ready to permanently delete things, we cannot possibly take this risk.
Partha, if someone posts that same Facebook status on like Twitter and says, "Look at me standing next to my Bentley," and he drives it on the street, how are you still not getting sad and don't?
Exactly. I talked to you about the culture. This is about mimicking your life. On Twitter, you write things like Salman Rushdie's opinions are bad. We think down with the like Tom and It's about the culture. It's about how it has shaped, how Twitter has been seen as a platform, and how Facebook has been seen as an expression or an extension of a personal identity you ought to put out there. So we tell you that argument doesn't stand. We tell you the entrenchment of views, and how we tell you a smaller number of strong relationships is better than a lot of flippant relationships. We tell you that you feel a fake sense of connection. 1, 2. There's a certain amount of time and emotional space that you have, right? Facebook has made sure we have too many friends, but we aren't close to them, aren't as close to them as we would have if we had a few friends. Why do we think that's problematic? Firstly, we think that the same argument that Darshil ran, right? You can make one mistake and lose all of them. When you're closer to somebody, it's more personal. One mistake will never cost you relationships. Secondly, we tell you, support structures. How many times will those 1,500 people come to the funeral of your father? But because you wanted those 10 friends, which have now become 3, because you've spent too much time on Facebook, you've lost that true support structure. We think personal should remain personal. We celebrate platforms that help me express things politically and have good outreach like internet and Twitter. But this debate is not the same.
Who's keeping time? Oh, sorry. I don't know what else to think or make a Partha speech, but the only thing I know for sure, and I'm telling you personally because you seem to value it, go to a psychiatrist, you have issues. Alright? But let's look at what they say, okay? They say that, you know what, and this is this happiness sadness thing, if I see someone put a picture of a Bentley, I get sad and I'm able to do nothing about it. Well, and that's why my question is important, right? Because he tries to distinguish this from Twitter and Facebook. How is it different if he puts it on Twitter, Vine, Tumblr, Reddit, etc., etc.? It's really not different, right? If you ban Facebook, people are those people on Facebook are going to go somewhere else. On those things also they're going to see this, and you're going to get depressed anyway. But more importantly, and this is particularly important, why should, if he's saying that sadness is he's saying sadness is so wrong, we tell you two things that you can do about it. If you post a status saying feeling sad because I saw someone else owns a Bentley, then people will say, oh, don't worry, you've got a lot going for you in life. You know what? They may be lying, but in that moment, the validation you get is damn important for you because about you especially, I think you might slit your wrist if they don't tell you that in that moment, right? But let's not make it like last year's finals because I'm getting like last year's finals. Also, is happiness and isolation is feeling? We don't think so. By your logic, if you're allowed to be sad on Facebook, you're also allowed to be happy on Facebook, right? You can't value judge and say one person's sadness is better than another person's happiness. If your case is that, then none of I just can't decide what this debate is really about. So we invite you in third speech to actually engage with what Sanjeevi said. Okay, but let's look at some other rebuttals. They say that Facebook and other forms of social media aren't different. We think that they're absolutely the same, right? Because it's not like Twitter says, here is information, I'll press delete button because I have information, but what to do with it. They all store information about you. Gmail, Amazon, Twitter, LinkedIn, Tumblr, Reddit, Google Glass. Oh, that what you're talking about is Google Glass. So we should ban all of these as well, right? Because they have information about you. That's a separate debate in and of itself. We don't think that they should do all of these things, but we think that the world is better with Facebook as it is even with these problems, right? And moving on to this idea of everybody lies and you get a culture of validation. I'm just saying that if you post a status saying too short and feeling sad, if someone tells you, no, sit, it's okay. If you're beautiful on the inside, that can help you out in life, alright? And we think this is important because this not constant, but rather immediate validation that you're able to get through Facebook is damn important. And or worse scenario, okay, if you're someone this one fellow who has 2 friends on Facebook, 2 of those are the Amber's profiles, Amber's alternate profiles. If no one likes your status also, you need to know you're that person because you know what, deal with it. Alright. But also like lastly, this is last rebuttal. No, chill. It's okay. Back jao. Okay. The last rebuttal. They say right to be forgotten, and then like I don't know, just like random words. Firstly, they say that it's going to flash across as like Machiavellian mastermind's face, like eyes, because he has Googled us. One, if your right to be forgotten is recognized, and we tell you yes sir it is, then you know they're not allowed to sell information to anyone. So like imagine like Partha 30 years down the line going to Facebook and saying, give me all of this stuff about Sanjeevi because like I don't care about the right to be forgotten. Facebook will say, but we do because we have to, and therefore you will not be able to negotiate Sanjeevi out of winning a debate if that's what we're going for. But let's look at some of the things that we talked about, right? And this is where we think Facebook has particular benefit. Oh my god, this is lying too much. Right? Let's talk about expression and discourse and what Facebook has allowed us. Because other forms of social media are just not enough, right? Because how many characters does Twitter have? 140. How do you tell people that you want to have a revolution? You can't. Because sometimes you need to like actually discuss the content. Because if your arguments apply to your own speeches, because maybe I could summarize your speeches on Twitter, our speeches unfortunately have to go up on Facebook. It's okay. Alright, but like let's talk about why even if the Arab Spring wasn't begun by Facebook, why Facebook is still important, right? Because and using the newsfeed algorithm, if you have people like Akshay Raghupati and Rao who read a lot of communist literature and who don't know about other people in Mumbai who read a lot of communist literature but think the same way, and imagine like all of these people have the same algorithm going for them, then Facebook will show them what these people have posted because someone has to have posted it, and that's what Facebook is allowed. Facebook is allowed for middlemen to be gone from our lives. I don't have to be friend with Ronald's friend's friend to share their view because it will show up on Ronald's feed if his privacy settings are as such, right? And we think that's particularly important to understand because we think in today's world time is of the essence, right? And it's damn important to understand that the lives we lead today that weren't treated by Facebook, if you were going to use that in GovWeb, the lives that we lead today because of the corporate structures that we have in the world do not allow us time to do anything. If you have an 8-to-1 job, what are you going to do? You have to go back and like if you're sad like Partha, you have to feed your cat, alright? But the idea is that if in those moments you can connect with people on social media, you don't really care for the interpersonal, right? In fact, we tell you, we're okay with arguing that interpersonal has changed to what it is now, right? We don't think that when I say I love you to my imaginary girlfriend on Facebook, it doesn't mean, it means the same thing that I would do on a face. Because you know what, everyone lies and everyone can lie, whether it's on social media or to your face, right? But let's talk about the fifth pillar of democracy, and this is where this is our part of the debate that they haven't engaged with at all, right? Because we told you that in the current situation where NDTV, for example, in India has become too soft where Barkha doesn't ask difficult questions, Times Now is too mad and too ordinary and too jingoistic, India TV is just bizarre in life, and like Times of India is too sexist. We need someone to call the media out on these things because the essence of a democracy is someone questioning the power structures, and if the people questioning your power structures have all collectively lost their shit, you need a fifth pillar, and lo and behold, social media, including Facebook, is that fifth pillar, right? Because if you want to write a complicated post about how Arnab Goswami is jingoistic, and if you just write on Twitter, Arnab is jingoistic and like 137 other words without explaining what you want, then Twitter trolls will kill you and you can't really explain your point of view. But things like Facebook allow you to write complicated like big posts, and like we've seen these in situations where like people like Amber have trolled the IWDC, and the IWDC people who supported it could respond to it on Facebook, right? And that's particularly important because on Twitter you would be limited to 140 words, and let's face it, if it's like 140 words, Amber would beat everyone. Before that, your question.
What is more effective? A well-written thesis on why things are needed, or 1,000 people on streets with 5 words written on a banner? Why do you tell me revolution can't happen on Twitter?
I'll tell you what's better, not 140 and a thesis. Alright. But let's talk about 2 other things that we're talking to you about, right? This idea of access to social spaces, right? Because political spaces they were completely ignored because apparently Sanjeevi says things and Sanjeevi things are to be ignored. But let's look at the idea of social spaces, right? And this is why we tell you that it's just like connection from people who you know but are far away in a separate city and are doing other things in life are just literally an alt tab away if you use Windows. I don't know what the Mac version of that is, but it's just an alt tab away because you could be writing a complicated like analysis of the things that you're working for and suddenly feel like taking a break, and in those 5 minutes you could have a chat with anyone. So if I leave NLU Delhi and if I'm working and I feel like talking to Ronald, I can just say, hey man, what's up? Because you know what, I have Facebook chat and I also have Gmail, but the idea is that you're going to make these arguments about Facebook, and these arguments are absolutely non-exclusive, and you've got to deal with us like being able to take away from it. But let's look at the political spaces that it allows us to concentrate on, right? Like things like the Aam Aadmi Party actually democratizing through people. Things like Jesway Shali and Jesway Ahmed creating so much support for the things that happened in the aftermath of Charlie Hebdo, and things like feminists in NLU Delhi having access to and being able to talk to Kavita Krishnan, Catherine McKinnon are things that are only available as a result of Facebook, right? We think Facebook is damn important. We think they just told you Facebook makes you sad. We tell you life makes you sad. Will you end all life? No, we don't think so. We're incredibly proud to oppose.
questions in this debate, right? Firstly, Facebook as a bastion of freedom of speech and like revolutions arising through Facebook. Secondly, Facebook is a tool of socializing and like showing like your life insofar as like the storyline and all of that and how it harms interpersonal interaction. But thirdly, why these guys need to stop grinning and start debating better. On the first question, right? On revolution, do you really think as an adjudicator it's reasonable for us to come here and defend like free speech and ability to critique governments, right? We think what side opposition has done in this debate is try to co-opt the benefits of like the internet in general into just saying that like all of these things in terms of checking media, starting revolutions, all of that is a benefit that Facebook has, right? That's not the debate, and that's why you've lost even before this debate begins, right? However, what are the specific problems with Facebook that we pointed out, which makes it not as good as dealing with these things rather than other forums such as blog posts or Twitter, right? Number one, Facebook is conformist. Darshil already told you how Facebook always will show up only pages that you've liked if you've liked it 50 times, 100 times, right? So we don't see how this kind of discourse that they're talking about is going to happen, right? But secondly, we tell you that like Facebook in and of itself, and here's the like correct characterization, right? We think that like this debate has to happen where in a paradigm where like all of us use Facebook as an extension of our identity and to tell the story of our lives, right? On Arab Spring, we tell you that like Twitter is good enough to do it, like because if you just write like listen, we're dying, save us, it's enough to spark a revolution. But secondly, we tell you like blog posts and everything else exists. Like I don't see how like and anyway Arab Spring happened through Twitter, so like I don't see how that stands either, right? But now let's go to where this debate should actually have been to begin with, right? And the idea on proliferation of sadness and why Facebook is particularly good at it, right? Understand that everybody uses Facebook to tell the story of their lives, to project an image, a favorable image, which they want to show to the world, right? Why is this bad? Number one, because we've told you through two speeches that this is a highly edited image, a highly glamorized image, the point in time at which everyone keeps posting of them being really happy when they buy a car or go on vacation, right? What's the impact on the person who's sitting at home? Two things, right? Firstly, we think that like in the immediate moment of sadness in terms of like accepting that you might have been better off somewhere else and somebody else is having more fun is quite dampening to begin with, right? But secondly, the understanding and like the lack of perception that you don't necessarily recognize that there are 1,000 other friends who are not going on vacation and hence like you shouldn't really feel that bad about it, right? The point at which even one friend goes on vacation every day is the point at which we tell you this sadness is proliferated, right? But before I go on, Pure.
Okay, how does Twitter not proliferate the same sadness when I tweet a picture of me with Shah Rukh Khan enjoying dinner, #LoveLife?
Here's the thing, right? Like, we think that our argument holds even in that paradigm, but let's understand realistically what people use Facebook for, what people use Twitter for. The fact that Shah Rukh Khan photo is much likelier to be shared on Facebook because Facebook is where you interact with your friends and show them these trivial things. We think like culturally, Twitter is the forum where you air your ideas on revolution, yada yada yada, right? So let's talk about the fact on why we think seeking validation through Facebook is particularly bad, right? No response to Parth's idea on how Facebook necessarily makes validation numerical, right? And they come out and tell us very flippantly in second speech that like we think immediate validation is important to some people, right? That feeds into our argument when we say the point in time in which you don't get that immediate validation, the point in time in which you see that your friends are getting 800 likes while I'm not even getting 10 is the point in time in which I become very, very sad, right? But moreover, no analysis on our idea of how Facebook necessarily forces you to conform to standards of beauty, right? You always like want to try to edit your picture through Instagram and make a filter to like make you look fairer, right? We think there is an implicit recognition in that you're not fair otherwise and you'll be sad outside of that picture on Facebook, right? No, sit down. Moreover, like we tell you, and here's another argument that they've not analyzed at all, right? Which came up in first speech on cyberbullying, right? We think cyberbullying is a problem to the extent that every single photo you put up or status you put up can be like paraded with trashed with comments like calling you fat or calling you stupid, right? However, the fact that those comments and that picture will continue to exist on your storyline as like an incarceration of your life is the point at which every time you go back to your timeline is when you'll feel sadder, right? So we think in terms of cyberbullying, that's a harm that they've not even begun to clash with, right? But on what are the benefits that they show to us clashing with all of the material coming from side government, right? Two things. Firstly, on the fact that people can share happiness and how that's valuable, right? We question the value of that. We think that somebody who's bought a Bentley or gotten into MIT doesn't really need to do it. We think the harms in terms of so many people feeling disenfranchised or so many people recognizing that they can never get the same kind of happiness necessarily outweighs that minor benefit, right? But second thing that they tell us is that you can use Facebook to go out and meet people like you. I don't know who goes adds random people on Facebook, maybe Sanjeevi adds random goth people, I don't even know what, right? We think that much realistic characterization is that you add friends and you add people who you know or have met at different points in time, and that's the point in time in which we tell you all of our arguments on validation become that much more important, right? Because these are the people who you know even outside of Facebook, and hence you seek to conform to what they think is good, what will get you likes, and become upset when you don't, right? Go.
Okay, why do I take people out for dinner when I get a job?
Okay, look, here's the thing, right? We think it's okay if it's limited to your near and dear ones. The problem with Facebook, however, is that random people, thousands of people on your friend list now have to see that and now have to wallow in self-pity that they didn't get that job, right? That's the harm we show you. We don't see how that POI made sense, right? But in terms of the harm to real interpersonal interaction, again, something that they've just brushed aside, right? They say that no, Facebook gives you more connection. What we tell you is that Facebook gives you an illusion of connection. Because understand this, the point in time which you switch off your screen, switch off your computer, you're going to be lonely again, right? We think that's the harm that they've not mitigated. But moreover, on our scope for misuse argument, something that they've just brushed away, right? Understand that the amount of information that Facebook has, the day they decide to misuse it, or the day they decide to pull out dirt on a prospective American president, is the point in which we think it's very, very bad. We don't want Facebook to have monopoly over information. We don't want Facebook to continue proliferating sadness. And we don't think Facebook is exclusive to starting revolutions. We are very, very proud to cover this debate.
Thank Governor Tripla Red for his speech. To continue the debate, we'd like to have opposite.
These pajamas are brought to you by Shouting Manager.
Motion by Dre.
Motion by Dave. Mr. Speaker, jumping right into the rebuttals, right? Aksharika comes and tells us that Facebook is conformist. We have multiple responses to this, right? Firstly, it's not just what you like that comes up. It's everything that anyone else you know or friends with or follow that posts anything that comes up, right? And that's what allows the proliferation of different opinions and narratives, right? But secondarily, even when the same posts that you like do come up, they don't come up sans any comment whatsoever, right? They come up with the cumulative of all the comments of every different person who's seen that and has a comment on it. You can review all of that stuff, right? But most importantly, and they haven't assessed the flip side of their depression argument, the flip side of their loneliness argument, right? Facebook, by virtue of allowing for this degree of conformity, enables you to associate with people you could not have associated with before, and that's the benefit that we're talking about, right? In terms of this happiness argument that they're talking about, we think that even if someone is feeling depressed, and this is very, very important, right? Anyone who is feeling depressed, who is feeling stifled in the real world, can find solace in Facebook, where they can access friends who are across the border, across the ocean, who still think the same things as them, right? It expands your entire scope of interpersonal relationships, and by that, it allows you to interact with people you otherwise would not have reacted with. We think this enables, and that's why what this debate is about, right? We think it enables you to counter your depression, but and anyone who's suicidal or an alcoholic can in fact find some sort of solidarity within it. But more importantly, we also think, and this is what the debate is about, people who are oppressed can find people that they relate to. It's not just about the suicidal person who can now find some sort of solace and support on the internet, but it's also about the oppressed Dalit who can't speak otherwise, who can upload a status saying fuck the Brahmin and say whatever the hell he wants to, right? That's the kind of marginal appreciation that Facebook allows to people, right? They come and tell us that, and this is why they really lose this debate, right? Because we're not coming here and arguing about the internet or defending the internet, right? Because we think that social media, the internet preceded social media, right? We're talking exclusively about the idea of social media, right? And we think that there's no distinction therein between things like Twitter and Facebook, right? Because even on Twitter, and that's the question that I tried asking them, right? No one is stopping me, or Parth rather, since he got into MIT, no one's stopping Parth from wearing that MIT sweatshirt and driving on the streets, right, with his Bentley. The idea that you're still open to people looking at you, the idea that anyone in public can see you and gauge that same sort of response is something that exists perpetually in life, right? But the idea that when you do feel those things, for you to be able to literally find someone who agrees with you on that, whereas everyone in the real world doesn't seem to, is an opportunity that only Facebook affords to people, right? We think that they have the same allegation that they're leveling against us, that we're taking the advantage of the internet, is something they're taking advantage of with the argument of cyberbullying, right? Because we see cyberbullying being proliferated through any and all means, including G-Talk and whatnot, right? But also, and this is the crux of the debate from side opposition, right? When you also see cyberbullying happening on Facebook, you also see protests against cyberbullying on Facebook, right? And that is the point of engendering the discourse and enabling a larger space for opinion where every opinion is protected equitably, right? Your question.
So, given that you argue there are social pressures which disallow a Dalit from abusing a Brahmin in open, the same social circle exists on Facebook.
No, it doesn't, right? No. See, it doesn't, right? That's ridiculous. In what universe is that true? Because what the hell, if I went on Tahrir Square as an Egyptian and went alone, I will be beaten the fuck up by those cops, right? It's only when I went on Facebook and on Twitter, and we think that both are equivalent in this particular case, could I actually contact people and tell them to join me as well in Tahrir Square, right? The idea that the space is so limited is retarded, right? We tell you that Facebook is a particular, it's particularly placed that allows, and this is the point with narratives and dominant and counter narratives, right? We tell you in the real world through the use of physical force, through the fact that societies and people are fractured and aren't in constant contact with each other, there always exists a dominant narrative that's out to stifle the counter narratives, right? Facebook is the only place which allows a level playing field for all narratives to be allowed with equal bargaining chips against each other, open to equal scrutiny, right? We don't see that happening in the real world because it's harder for a person to go out in public and say things like these as opposed to post about them on Facebook, right? What's the case been from side opposition? Something that they haven't engaged with, right? We tell you that Facebook has afforded humanity the opportunity to bridge gaps literally on every level of communication. What this allows for is the dissemination of ideas and the finding of like-minded people so that you can actually galvanize on those ideas in the real world and generate a form of discourse that you singularly could not at one given point, right? Moreover, it allows you to do that with the protection of not physically being present there, with the protection of anonymity, right? We tell you Facebook, your question.
All of these things are true for whole of internet, physical, being able to have a whale, etc. There is a difference. Facebook is more social, is more personal. Prove me unique value of this aspect of Facebook.
It's not unique. That's what I said 2 minutes ago. Can you please listen to me? It's not unique to the internet. It's unique to social media. In what universe? Ajinkya literally came up here and said people don't post stupid shit on Twitter. Are you mad? Have you ever been on Twitter? Jesus, we don't see any absolute difference between any of these things apart from the fact that you're limited to 140 characters on Twitter. You still have vines that you can upload. You still have pictures that you can upload. There's still shitty links that you can upload. Amber can pull off the same trolls on Twitter. He just likes the word limit. He just hates the word limit on Twitter, right? We don't see any difference. We need to come out and give a more nuanced difference between them apart from, I don't know, whatever some technological bullshit that we're talking about, right? In terms of what you need to look at while assessing the debate, right? You need to look at the true worth of Facebook, either in singularly or largely social media, and the benefit it has had over the last 10 years, right? Think about forget proliferation of sadness. Think about the proliferation of equitable treatment for people, especially women, right? Was feminism ever a big thing 10 years ago before Facebook? We don't really think so, right? Because it finally enabled for people who singularly believe those ideas in a stifling environment to actually access other people and galvanize on that kind of rhetoric and call people out for what they did wrong, right? We think proliferation of these kind of radical ideas and counter narratives could only get galvanized in a particular social space like Facebook, like Twitter, wherein you're afforded that anonymity. We think that's why that kind of discourse is important. Their analysis has solely been restricted to the idea of depression. We don't think how that's unique in any which way. We specifically don't think how that's unique to Facebook in particular, right? Because we don't really see any analysis from their end as to how this has been accentuated, and this is important, right? How this has been accentuated to the point that it outweighs every single benefit that Facebook has afforded us and social media has afforded us for the last 10, 20 years, right? We tell you that the proliferation of Facebook has enabled discourse like it has never been possible. It's literally like a renaissance happening again in terms of all of these ideas which you would never hear about 10 years ago. We think that has value. We think equitable social spaces where you can engender discourse are important. For these reasons, we support Facebook.
We thank opposition Whip for his speech to end the debate for opposition. We call opposition reply.
We think op case has been, well, for lack of a better word, damn shallow. Gov case has been damn shallow. Op case is damn shallow, my bad. Okay, hashtag shit. Okay. So this is what the problem with gov cases, right? The question that they want you to answer in this debate is, how does one deal with sadness, right? And like, even if you want to debate it, we don't think this debate is about this, but like we did anyway, there are 4 responses we gave, right? First, like, if you are sad and you share, like, say, status saying feeling sad, then like people can like constantly and immediately reassure you, saying like, no, your life isn't all that bad, right? Because if you're debating at this level, that's not problem. Secondly, we told you that sometimes you may also use this as an aspirational value. Like, I can see, like, if like someone from my batch got into a great LLM program, I can, instead of feeling sad if I'm a nice person and if I'm a good grounded person, I can say I should also aim to get into this or be as successful, right? We think that either of these is as likely to happen. But also what's as likely to happen is if you have no friends on Facebook, if you're like one person with 0 friends or 2 unbelievable friends, no one says anything to you. In which case also, it goes with Partha's principle because he hates the idea of lying, right? So like social media is telling you the truth in any case. We tell you either case, whether people on social media lying to you or telling you the truth, there is an advantage to be had. And lastly, like no one's really thought about this, but if I see someone's, like a friend of mine posting a status saying just bought a Bentley, I actually might be happy for him. Something to think about. Okay. But let's talk about some other things that they said. They said, hey, cyberbullying. Cyberbullying happens on Facebook. No, cyberbullying happens on the internet. And if your first speech argumentation and second speech argumentation was that we are trying to co-opt the internet to our side, I don't know how you co-opt the internet because net neutrality rules came in. But if you're trying to co-opt the internet to our side, then you're also trying to co-opt the internet for the same thing because cyberbullying can happen anywhere. The difference, as you argued through you for 3 speeches, is that in this case, you can explain to someone how cyberbullying happened. Imagine being cyberbullied because like there were blog comments because no one really reads people's blogs, and then putting like a Twitter post saying like I was cyberbullied or in whatever 140 characters. It doesn't have the same thing if you can explain how the cyberbullying happened and what you thought was wrong about it. And like-minded people who necessarily don't always talk to you can like talk to you about these things and do this. But let's look at some of the other questions in this debate. Is Facebook and social media the same? We tell you that modality might be different in some cases because obviously like Twitter has less characters, but we tell you it is the same thing, right? You can't co-opt some of the benefits of social media into your argumentation while denying us doing the same thing. We tell you that any identity you have on Facebook is no different from identities that you have on other social media platforms, right? Because the Bentley examples and the MIT examples that they were giving are just as applicable on Vine, Tumblr, Twitter, etc., etc., etc. We don't think that those ought to stand. But what this debate really was about from our side, does Facebook allow for expression, and if so, of what kind? In this, we argued 3 things to you, right? 3 broad things. One, we told you that given that your lives have changed because of the kind of jobs that you do and because of the kind of lives that you now lead, your social sphere, you can't meet people constantly and can't do that as you did like say 30 years ago. So Facebook allows you that instant interaction with those people. And we tell you that the value of these interactions can't be decried by the gov just by saying that it's not personal. Of course it's not personal, but it's interaction that otherwise you wouldn't have had without something like Facebook, without something like Gmail. Next we tell you that the political sphere has also been something where you have real-time participation as exemplified by analysis of the Aam Aadmi Party or Jeswe Shani or Jeswe Ahmed or the other myriad examples we gave you. We tell you that even if Arab Spring was because of Twitter, it doesn't mean that people sharing posts and sharing complicated ideas through Facebook and other people reading them can't lead to a revolution. The principle remains the same. For you to win this debate, try and reply to counter that principle. But most importantly, we told you that the fifth pillar of democracy has become social media, and Facebook is a part of that social media, right? We tell you that through Facebook, you question a lot of things. Your views don't have to be limited to geography or UC, and you can actually check on the institutions that exist in state or the institutions that are supposed to check the state, i.e. what happened with Arnab Goswami when people said shame on Times Now for their coverage of the Cricket World Cup or other things where the media has been criticized by Facebook like Times of India. But lastly, can Facebook be the villain of an Austin Powers movie? And we tell you no. One, we give you legal argumentation in terms of right to be forgotten and how that can't be used. You can't even use this information. That's the purpose of right to be forgotten. Like there's a permanent delete button somewhere and you have to necessarily hit it. But lastly, we tell you that even if Facebook gathers information, it's not unique because you know what? Even Amazon does it. We're incredibly proud to oppose, and this is probably the last time I'm doing it. So when I share a Facebook post and people like it, I will be happy.
We take opposition reply for a speech to end the debate. We'd like to call government reply.
Before I start, I will stop speaking at 4:20, but just give me 20 seconds after that. Is that okay? Is that okay? I'll stop making arguments after that, right? Sorry, Amar, no one cares. Okay. We made a distinction. Facebook is especially personal. It specially mimics your social and personal life. And it specially chronicalizes your entire life. That distinction gives some value and has some harms. They choose to keep arguing with us that this difference doesn't exist. If that's true, if the culture of Twitter and Facebook is just the same, I accept defeat. But if that's not true, they haven't shown me the benefits of this unique thing while we have shown you the harms. However, Twitter can't replace Facebook. Why? They said that the number of characters is very important. You can't put revolutions need thesis. We reject that idea. We think revolution needs enough number of people crying to be saved from the traitor, from the person who's oppressing them. That's all we need. We don't need a description to know why Bashar al-Assad is bad. We tell you that the culture, but secondly, they ask me a question. Same photo on Twitter, will have similar effects. Firstly, the culture makes sure, and I argue this in my debate, that most things are expression of political opinion on Twitter. Sometimes people do this, but it's not as bad as Facebook. But secondly, we told you that all the revolutions were caused by Twitter. It had some benefits that were good. Here's the kicker. All examples they gave me were those where Twitter was useful. Even Ronak gave the example and suddenly realized it's Twitter and he says, oh, because Twitter and Facebook is the same, this extends. But we rejected that idea to begin with. The journey of hashtag is beautiful and you'll realize why. Hashtag began on Twitter. It was used as a thing which linked different causes together and it worked beautifully. When Facebook co-opted it, it became like hashtag sunny side up, hashtag very happy, hashtag very sad, hashtag pout, hashtag this, hashtag that. Because this is personal, this is like the social space, that is political. Hashtag shows you that difference we argued for. The next argument, validation is achievable and that's good. Those 400 likes mean validation to me. No. We argue society always had the concept of validation. Facebook attached a number to that validation. Which means in pre-Facebook time, when my close friend circle came in and said congratulations, I would still feel validated. But today, there has been set a threshold of validation, a threshold for looking good, and that cannot be met by everyone, and it causes more sadness and no incremental happiness to the person being validated. Second question he asks, why do you take people out for dinner? Because we feel extremely happy taking 6-7 people who can join in my happiness. Sanjeevi, I will never give you a dinner for MIT, but in my friend list. There are a lot of people like that, and I'm pretty sure you would rather be in Harvard Law School than go on a dinner with me because I got to MIT, and that's the case. Their last lunch response, life sucks anyways. No, life has some happiness, life has some sadness. If at the day I think life for everybody around the world is causing more sadness than happiness, I will exterminate everyone. Facebook is providing more sadness than it's providing happiness was our case. That's what you have to be tackling and be comparative. Value of association, underground culture, alcohol and solidarity. You can go access these groups on internet anyway. The value comes from when you can openly access them in society. So the value that the Dalit seeks, he can anyway seek on other places in the internet where it's a closed community. But the value you want to derive is to be able to openly say that the Brahmin is an asshole. That's an ability you don't have in society nor in social networks. And hence that value of association isn't really an argument. We told you there's loss of close relationships. There was no analysis of why few close relationships which you use as support structures aren't more important than your only part where you're arguing with a personal argument of I can interact with people across the border. We want you in comparative then. Finally, what were the arguments? And let me see who actually co-opted internet. The only allegation they make for co-optation was cyberbullying. But before that, what were the reasons revolution happens? Security of not physically being there. Not Facebook, internet. Quick dissemination, internet. Easy access, internet. Why cyberbullying? Because it can happen anywhere. But bullying happens on personal things, and that again is unique to Facebook. We were the ones who argued Facebook, you argued a different debate. Before I go away, this is the last time I stand here as IIT Bombay. Since NLS is a place where all of us come together, I thank the dinosaurs for being inspiration. I thank my seniors for teaching me. I thank my peers for challenging me. I thank my juniors for respecting and loving me. I apologize that there were times that I was aggressive. I'm known as a very aggressive speaker. There are times where I've done things I wish I hadn't done. But let me assure you, there were a fallout of incompetency and not malice. For the last time as IIT Bombay, extremely proud of the post.
Disconnect.